Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Evie and Jane, for putting this fabulous function together. I've been let out of the kennel to come talk to you about oil and gas as well. So what you see here is an ADX. ADX is an Australian listed company producing oil and gas in the middle of Europe, in Austria specifically, and exploring. So we're quite an anomaly. I think that's both a big bonus and also a bit of a setback in that most people look at Austria, where we're very active, and think of Grünewood, Lena wine and skiing. They don't think of oil and gas. But it is a very mature oil and gas province. But our focus is on drilling more wells, getting our production rate up. We're currently producing around 300 barrels a day. We increased our reserves substantially up to 6 million barrels last year, and we've got a very large prospective resource base. So we're trying to balance with having strong underlying cash flow that's building, but also very deep and exciting exploration portfolio that we hope to drill out. And we're doing it through farm outs. We recognise we're not always going to get the joy in the market that we like, but if you keep succeeding, eventually people will notice. And I think the other thing is, while we can feel unloved as oil and gas producers and explorers, what we saw after the Ukraine conflict is actually energy is really important, and you can't take it for granted. So I'll move to the next slide. Actually, the one after that. So, why Austria? Well, we were very lucky. We broke into a duopoly that had been around for 75 years between the National Oil and Gas Company, OMV, and a consortium that was made up of Mobil and Shell that was then in the hands of gas utilities. So we picked up a nice little oil field that produces around 250 barrels a day in the Vienna Basin, next to Vienna. It's a mature field, but it's had less than 2% decline in the last 5 years, so that's a nice little cash engine for us. It's also the potential opportunity for us to also get into some renewable projects, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But most importantly, we're also able to pick up not only production, we picked up around 100 million euros of 3D seismic, and we also picked up a very good exploration team that was very well known to the host government. So that enabled us to get in very quickly and get runs on the board. It enabled us to pick up a large acreage position of about 1,000 square kilometres in the middle of Europe. And last year we had our first discovery, and we were producing within 8 months of that discovery. And there's not many places on the planet you can do that. Next, please. So here's the production and development. It is oil, but the beauty of oil is, you can, particularly in Austria, you can drill it, you can find it, and you can turn it into cash flow. And that's really what attracted us to Austria in the first place. So on the left-hand side, you see our Vienna Basin fields. We've got a couple of million barrels of reserves there. We're also connected with all the pipelines, gas, oil, and we're also connected to the power grid. And that power grid actually has the biggest, if you like, renewable energy input in Austria. So we can also use that power for other things. And one of the things we're looking to use that power for is to generate hydrogen and actually store hydrogen in depleted reservoirs. So depleted reservoirs give you a great opportunity to store large amounts of energy underground that would be very, very expensive to do at surface. And Europe wants to build a hydrogen economy, but you're not going to build it if you can't store it. So we're 70 kilometres from Vienna. They want to become a hydrogen hub by 2030, and we've got a very good position to actually become, if you like, a hydrogen battery for Vienna. On the right-hand side, you see the Anshoff oil field. As I said, early last year, we made the discovery. By October, we were producing. March of this year, we got a production licence. I defy you to tell me any place on the planet you can do things that quickly. We're currently producing 120 barrels a day from our first well. We'll be drilling another 2 wells in the back half of this year, and that'll get us up to about 750 barrels a day, which obviously will be a big step up for us in cash flow. Importantly, after the discovery, we were also awarded with 5 million barrels of reserves from an independent expert. But this structure has got a very, very large upside. It's got up to about 26 million barrels which onshore, when you can get into production very quickly, is very valuable to us. Next, please. So exploration, that's a sizzle. As Glenn says, you only get out of the kennel if you're drilling exciting wells. And we've got a very deep prospect inventory. We've got 16 prospects. Historical success rate in this basin has been 50%, but the baby got thrown out with the bathwater. The previous producer, where you can see all that red and green, that's previous production. They decided to get out of E&P and concentrate on gas storage. Their business model was bringing Russian gas into Austria, buying it in summer when it was cheap and selling it in winter. So a bit of a failed model, but for us what it's meant is we're able to pick up all their 3D seismic, 3,500 square kilometres of it, pick up 1,000 square kilometres of really prime exploration acreage and get drilling very quickly. Now the big attention is going to be on our Welchow prospect. I'm not going to talk about baggers, but a BCF of gas is worth about $3 million US at current gas prices. So, you know, it's a multi-billion dollar potential resource. And what you can see there is test production from a well that was only 4 kilometres away. Unfortunately, that well was discovered in the 80s, no infrastructure, no gas market, clean gas, high condensate ratio, and very close to us. We're basically drilling the same play just up dip in shallower reservoirs, which will mean relatively cheap well to drill. We've got an international pipeline within 19 kilometres. So the other beauty of this, if we find what we're looking for, very quick to get into production. And that's really, really the key. Next, please. All right, so last year we had a great year, but a great year doesn't always translate into share price, but our sales revenue was up 50%, operating cash flow up 85%. We managed to put about 6 million of capex into the ground. We repaid all our outstanding loans, and we improved our reserves by 200%. Our share price stayed flat. But what it has done is put us in the position where we've got a very, very exciting program going forward. We're going to drill 2 development wells on the Anshoff discovery. We've got the Welchow gas prospect to drill in September, and we hope to be able to surprise the market with some very lucrative farm outs, because what we've got 2 options of raising money. You can either do it from the industry that still recognises there's a lot of revenue you get out of oil and gas, or you can go to the capital markets. Our preference is to do it from the industry, where we're getting better value right now. But, you know, with success comes recognition, we hope. Well, along with that, we're also progressing a number of renewable projects. And these are not us pivoting, they're actually extensions to what we're already doing. So within our acreage and asset position, we've got a great opportunity for hydrogen generation and storage. We've got very good geothermal prospects. We had Vulcan Energy. They're actually utilising geothermal energy just on the other side of the border from where we explore. And we've also, because we own land and we're connected to the grid, we can also generate solar power for our own use as well as putting in the grid. Next, please. Thank you. All right, so look, we're not, believe me, we're not climate change deniers. In fact, we see a big future for us in transition. But I think what that slide tells you is that although we've been, particularly Europe has been trying to shift from oil and gas to renewable energy, in fact, the demand for energy just keeps going up, and still oil and gas is, and coal are 86% of the fuel mix. So that's going to be very difficult to turn around. I think what most of you, like most investors, don't realise is oil and gas can actually be part of the solution. There is a hell of a lot you can do with an oil and gas reservoir. You can sequester carbon, and the IEA would tell you that if we really want to reduce carbon, we actually need to start sequestering it. They're doing it in the UK, they're doing it in Norway. But the other important thing is, you know, Europe doesn't have a problem with their government standing up is saying we need gas as a transition fuel. You can get an Australian politician onto a platform, but they won't say it. They know it, but they won't say it. So for us, it's really, really important because we're getting all the support we need. And in fact, you know, we're being asked, if you have gas discoveries, please don't export it. We need it here. So the thing to take away, though, is that, you know, in reservoirs under the ground, there are many things you can do. You can generate geothermal energy very successfully, you can store carbon, and in our case, we'll be storing hydrogen. Thank you very much for your time.